today we're going to look at a 5.3 question for 5th grade. So let's start at the beginning. A baker had 48 cups of flour in a container. Okay, it sounds like a total. Let's keep reading. The baker used 11 1/4 cups of flour on Friday. So that means that he baked with it, so he doesn't have that anymore. And 14 1/2 cups of flour on Saturday. So the baker then again used more flour, so he doesn't have that either. So how many cups of flour were left in the container? So we are trying to figure out how much is left over. And if I look at my answer options, I can see it's less than this original 48 cups of flour. So I'm going to be subtracting. So I'm going to rephrase my question sentence so that I can put my answer in and check for reasonableness after I do my computations. How many cups of flour were left in the container? The baker had this many cups of flour left in the container. That is what we're solving for. All right. I think we have established that this is our total. He had 48 cups of flour in a container. So if I'm talking about my plan and what I'm going to be doing, started with 48 cups in a container. So he used 11 1/4 cups of flour on Friday. So used 11 1/4 cups on Friday. All right. So we're going to go back to this use because it's still part of this sentence. So he used 14 1/2 cups of flour on Saturday. So used 14 1/2 cups on Saturday. So I need to my total is 48 cups. We know Friday the baker used some flour. We know on Saturday the baker used some flour. What we're solving for is flour left. This is the part that I do not know. So instead of subtracting twice, I think I'm going to add these two together first. Let's get to our solving. So I need to add Saturday's flour to Friday's flour to figure out the amount used. Saturday is 14 1/2 cups. Friday is 11 1/4 cups. So if I'm adding my fractions, I know that I have to have a common denominator. These two denominators are kind of nice. They talk to each other well because I know that I can multiply 2 by something to make 4. So I can multiply 2 by 2, and remember you have to multiply your numerator and your denominator by the same number so that this fraction stays equivalent. So I multiply my numerator and my denominator by 2 to create my equivalent fraction. So 14 2/4 is my Saturday amount. My Friday amount, now that I have my common denominator of 4, is 11 1/4 cups. So now I'm going to add these together. So when I'm adding fractions, I only add my numerators. 2 + 1 is 3. And then I bring my denominator down. So 3/4 flour. And then let's look at our whole numbers. 4 + 1 is 5. 1 + 1 is 2. So remember, this is the amount used. Let's plug this back into our sentence. The baker had 25 3/4 amount used cups of flour left in the container. Doesn't make sense, right? But if you look at your answer options, you'll see 25 3/4 a cup is an answer. Don't stop after the first step. We know that that's the amount used. That can't be our answer. What I need to do now is subtract from my total amount right here the amount that has been used. So 48 is the total amount of flour. 25 3/4 is what was used. To be able to subtract these two things, I cannot subtract a whole number from a mixed number. So I need to borrow a fractional amount from my whole number so that I can subtract my fractions. So the nice thing about this is that I already have a denominator that I know I'm going to need to make my equivalent fraction. Okay, so I'm going to borrow 1 whole from 48, so this now becomes 47, and I need to borrow 4/4 because 4/4 is equivalent to 1 whole, right? So when I'm borrowing from a whole number, I take away 1, I regroup, and I regroup that into a fraction that has an equal numerator and a denominator. So now I'll subtract. I subtract my numerators. 4 take away 3 is 1. I bring my denominators down, and now I can subtract my whole numbers. 7 take away 5 is 2. 4 take away 2 is 2. 22 1/4 cups of flour is what is left in the container. So the baker had 22 1/4 cups of flour left in the container.